by here every day, and it's nice to not actually be harassed for once.
Tonight, the trucks are gone, and Ottawa locals are breathing a sigh of relief. A not-so-subtle gesture puts a junior hockey player on ice.
I came across a short paragraph from an Inuit legend that I was really drawn to.
And there's more Inuktitut books for Nunavut school children. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The wheels are in motion for a class action lawsuit involving systemic discrimination of Inuit children in northern Quebec. A trio of law firms filed a class action application in Quebec Superior Court today, alleging chronic underfunding of child welfare services in the Nunavut region. If approved, the class action will impact all Inuit kids taken into care in Quebec since 1975. We'll have more on this story tomorrow. It was much quieter in Ottawa's downtown core Tuesday. Gone are the rigs, signs, and convoy protesters themselves, but a police lockdown of the parliamentary district remains in effect. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
Aside from police and cruisers, there weren't too many people downtown. This in stark contrast to the previous 3 weeks where convoy protesters took over much of the area. People APTN talked to seemed happy the worst of the illegal blockade appears to be over.
I mean, I work down in the glebe, so I walk by here every day, and it's nice to not actually be harassed for once. So
this weekend is definitely quieter. I feel like things are finally starting to get a little bit back to normal.
But as one downtown resident noted, a number of downtown streets remain under police authority.
It's quieter. There's a lot less people, but it's very difficult getting around. I had to go through 4 checkpoints to get to work. It should take 20 minutes to walk here, and it took over an hour.
Over the course of the weekend, police arrested close to 200 people and removed most of the trucks from downtown. On Monday, MPs debated the Emergencies Act into the evening. The interim Conservative leader questioned why the act is still necessary since the blockade has been taken down.
The Prime Minister reported this morning that Ottawa is clear, the trucks are gone and the borders are open, but he says an emergency remains. Can the Prime Minister tell us what is the criteria for this emergency to be declared over, and on what date will he end these unprecedented and invasive measures?
However, the Prime Minister said the danger of future illegal uprisings remains.
The Emergencies Act is enabling critical measures to end these illegal blockades and prevent further occupations. We've heard from police chiefs, security experts, and municipal and provincial leadership that it has been essential to the response. We've been very clear that these measures will apply only when and where necessary.
The NDP voted in favour of the act. Laurie Idlout says the danger the Freedom Convoy represents cannot be taken lightly.
I am sincerely concerned about the risk and safety of Nunavut and Canadians, especially with the downplaying of what has happened in the last 3 weeks, especially with the extremism we have seen being downplayed to having a different view. Much of the debate surrounding the Emergencies Act is because of the illegal blockade that was dismantled this weekend.
The Emergencies Act passed through the House with NDP support. It is now being debated in the Senate. If it fails to pass in the Senate, it will be immediately revoked. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
To Thunder Bay now, where another investigation has been launched into that city's police service. The Ontario Provincial Police says their criminal investigations branch has, quote, been assigned to ensure a complete, thorough, and independent investigation into allegations related to members of the Thunder Bay Police Service. According to the OPP, the Provincial Attorney General asked for the investigation in December of 2021. The OPP is not saying who with the Thunder Bay Police Service is the focus of its investigation, but a statement from the Thunder Bay Police Services Board says, quote, the board is not suspending Chief Hoth and will not unless and until there are objective findings that would lead to such a decision. This latest investigation is in addition to an investigation by the Ontario Civilian Police Commission that was announced earlier this month. Trans Mountain Pipeline has announced that the cost to build the mega project that would carry 1 million barrels of bitumen to the west coast of BC has skyrocketed. APTN's Tina House joins us from Vancouver for more on this.
It was in December of 2013 that the Trans Mountain Pipeline proposal was first brought to the National Energy Board. Joining me today is Eugene Kung from the West Coast Environmental Law. Eugene, what's happened during this last 8 years of this project?
Wow, a lot has happened in the last 8 years, Tina, with TMX. When it was first proposed in 2013, as you mentioned, the cost was $4.5 billion. What we've seen since then is a steady increase in costs to just last Friday, an announcement that it had increased by 4 times to $21.6 billion. That's a huge change and a huge increase. Of course, in the meantime, we've seen many court cases and challenges, and it's become really a big national controversy.
How have they justified that? I mean, 21.5 billion? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's incredible. Every Canadian in this country should be alarmed that that number has increased so high. What are the justifications that they're saying for that high number?
It's hard to say, you know, they keep changing the justification as it goes along. From the very beginning, Trans Mountain was supposed to be a business enterprise. And that's what makes it so frustrating, because what the National Energy Board and the federal cabinet and the Canadian Energy Regulator all said was that the profits that would come from Trans Mountain expansion justified the infringement on Indigenous rights, the fact that we're taking the climate in the wrong direction by building oil and gas infrastructure, and of course the impacts on orcas and salmon from a spill. And so at this new price, and especially now that the federal government has announced that they will not be spending any more public money on it, it's only going to get more expensive, and any fictional or hopeful profits have now not only evaporated, they've imploded entirely. And this is going to make it a lot harder to sell it back to the private sector. It's going to make it a lot harder for whoever owns it to make any kind of money on it before it becomes a stranded asset.
I mean, here on the West Coast, there's many First Nations that have fought tooth and nail against this project, mainly because the sustenance that they get from the sea and the salmon and other creatures that they harvest there. Has there been any new technology that will clean up that bitumen if or when there is a spill?
Not only is there not any new technology, but we still don't even know for certain how bitumen will behave in an oil spill. This was a part of the National Energy Board challenge that was not really adequately addressed by cabinet, and so again, this is just the myriad of problems facing this pipeline. Whether it's COVID-19 delays, whether it's climate-related things like floods or forest fires, which have set back construction. There's so many challenges that it has faced, and this is just another one.
Eugene Kung, thank you so much for joining us today. Back to you in studio.
Thanks, Tina. What are your thoughts on the latest budget increase to the Trans Mountain Pipeline? Let us know. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send us your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave us a comment on our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. You can follow APTN News and join the conversation and see our latest stories. A hockey game that took place over the weekend in Manitoba is gaining attention after what appears to be a bow and arrow gesture that took place at the end of the game against the First Nations team. Our Daryl Stranger has more on the situation.
It scores! A Junior A game on February 19th between the Dauphin Kings and Wew'wasi-Kappa Wolverines finished 3-2 in favor of the Kings. But it is a gesture made by a Dauphin Kings player that has the game receiving attention on social media. This video circulating online shows Dauphin Kings player Klim Georgiev making what looked like a bow and arrow gesture against the Wew'wasi-Kappa Wolverines. The Manitoba Junior Hockey League posted a statement online regarding the incident. The MJHL takes situations of this nature very seriously. At this time, the player has been suspended with a final decision to follow once a full review has been completed of the incident, which includes the use of an external consultant in investigating this matter. The Dauphin Kings also released a statement. We take pride in bringing these players into our community, and we all must remember that these are young men who are still learning. This is a learning opportunity for our hockey club, and we are determined to work together to educate all involved. Hockey Indigenous is a non-profit focused on promoting Indigenous hockey. They said online, one does not have to learn how not to be racist. Being racist is a choice. And Bridget Laquette also weighed in online, calling the behavior unacceptable. Other social media comments allege the Wolverines did the racist gesture first, earlier in the game when they scored. The Wew'wasi-Kappa Wolverines did not comment, saying they may do so after the investigation is complete. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Time for a quick break. Coming up, a story on Inuit Language Month. Stick around. Welcome back. February is Inuit Language Month, which is a big deal in Nunavut, where around 76% of the population can hold a conversation in Inuktitut. But to keep that language alive, Nunavut schools need Inuktitut books and Inuit authors. Our Ken Driscoll set out to meet one of those authors who publishes Inuit stories in English and Inuktitut.
In Nunavut schools, you can take 100% of your schooling in Inuktitut until grade 3. That's where Nadia Samertuk comes in. She began writing children's books while attending the Nunavut Teachers Education Program. She writes in English, and the books are published in English and Inuktitut.
When I was a student in the Nunavut Teacher Education Program, one of the summers during that program, I worked as a summer student with Inhabit Media, the publishing company. And so during one of the summers that I worked there, I came across a short paragraph from an Inuit legend that I was really drawn to. And so I thought about attempting to turn it into story form, like book form.
Samartuk now has 10 children's books in English and Inuktitut. Her stories have Inuk characters, take place in Nunavut, and feature things the kids will recognize. Her daughter sure knows what this is.
What's that girl inside? Boy. What's that boy inside? Igloo. What was that boy inside?
Igloo. Samartuk's parents speak Inuktitut, but like many Inuit, she was raised as an English speaker. These books are part of how she reconnects with that Inuktitut part of her culture and shares it.
I've had to work on my fluency and practicing speaking in Inuktitut all of my life, and I'm still practicing. So I don't consider myself fluent, but for younger children, I think it's very important that they don't miss out on that opportunity to learn as much of our language as they can, especially being, younger.
Keeping a young child's attention is half the battle when teaching. Samartuk sees the focus go up with the students when they see familiar stories and images.
Been very excited because they're like, oh, I know that story. My mom used to tell me that when I was younger, or my Ananitsak wrote that story, sort of thing. So yeah, you can see a lot of connection between the students or children and the stories.
Inuktitut does well in Nunavut, but it is on the decline. The 2016 census showed that 65% of Nunavummiut say Inuktitut is their mother tongue. That was a drop from the previous census, and the language data from the most recent census is still pending. Getting every early reader matters, and this is how you do it. One reader at a time. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
To business now, and only 36% of Indigenous-owned tourism businesses across Canada are owned by women. But in Alberta, it's a much different story. Nearly half are owned by women. APTN's Chris Stewart looks into what makes Alberta so different.
It's big money. Tourism is a $40 billion industry. Mackenzie Brown is the director of Indigenous Tourism Alberta. She says there's a reason women own nearly half of the tourism-related businesses in that province. It's because their current success is tied to their mothers and grandmothers before them.
It's really a testimony to the incredible matriarchs that Indigenous women come from, right? We've had these people, these amazing women who have paved the way for us so that we can really grow and that we can really amplify our voices and take up space in the industry, and that will continue. It's generational work.
There's a lot of symbolism in here, and in each.
Lana Whiskey Jack and her husband own Whiskey Jack Art. It sells her artwork and shows the handiwork of other artists. She sells beadwork, clothing, arts, beauty supplies, and more. It all comes from other Indigenous-owned businesses, almost all owned by women. She thinks the collaborations between them is a reason why Alberta is leading the nation.
So many of us are working within our communities and wanting to share resources and wanting to lift one another and support one another. So that's when I think of how the importance of Indigenous women businesses is that you are helping a whole web of relations and supporting communities.
Whiskey Jack says it's time for female entrepreneurs to rightfully take their place with men.
I think of some of our prophecies that we have now came into this time of the woman. The last 7 generations been under the time of the men, so now we're shifting into this time of the woman. And I mean, that's what a lot of this artwork here is about, is supporting our Esquayaway, as we say in Cree, our womanhood.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Great looking work there. Still to come, we'll hear about a musical performance aimed at helping those with addictions. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for a photo of the day. Our viewer Jennifer Hunter sent us a number of pictures, each one as wonderful as the next, but we picked this photo where Jennifer captured this beautiful shot near Kujuarpik, Nunavut, and it is stunning. Keep those photos coming and be sure to send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, +9 with showers in Halifax, 7 in showers in Charlottetown. -21 in Nain, 17 below for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. +8 with showers in Montreal, -15 and snow in Chibougamau. -12 with flurries in Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay. -12 under sunny skies in Thunder Bay, sunny and 18 below in Sioux Lookout. -21 for Thompson, God's Lake, and Norway House. 20 below and sunny in Winnipeg, Gimli, and Dauphin. -20 in Regina, 19 below and sunny in Saskatoon. -18 in Meadow Lake, 17 below in Buffalo Narrows. In northern Alberta, -8 with flurries in High Level and Peace River. Sunny and -15 for Medicine Hat, -9 in Lethbridge. +1 in Vancouver, 3 above in Victoria. -9 with snow in Prince George, 8 below and snow in Dease Lake. -6 in Old Crow and Rock River, 4 below in Whitehorse. -13 with snow in Yellowknife, -5 and snow in Norman Wells. 14 below with flurries in Sax Harbor, -8 in Paulatuck. -28 in Baker Lake, 31 below for Chesterfield. -26 in Resolute, 32 below in Igloolik. As Yukon's opioid and addictions crisis continues to impact the territory, performers in an upcoming music show are hoping their voices will change the way people view the issue. And as Sarah Connors tells us, they're hoping their performance will help addicts and people struggling with their mental health.
I'm not nervous, come on baby, I'm almost there. I see the music.
Yudi Mercady is one half of hip-hop duo Vision Quest. The Vuntut-Gwitchin citizen is practicing a song he'll be rapping for Crush the Crisis, an online show to honor the lives lost to Yukon's opioid and addictions crisis.
It's a major issue and it's scary, right? You don't know. People are going through whatever, so they start using, but then they could just drop.
According to the territory's chief coroner, 8 people have died from drug overdose in the first 6 weeks of this year. At least 2 were from Mercady's community of Old Crow.
You can see the struggle in the community, like as is right now. Like you can see people hurting. You know, put a smile on during the day, but at night they're hurting in their home. You know that.
I found my light at the end of the tunnel. I constantly struggle, which made me scared to be humble. I put a chip on my shoulder.
Mercady hopes his performance will draw attention to the Ogilvy Creative House in Whitehorse, where the show will be live streamed. The space is free to use for young creatives and has its own recording studio. Mercady says making music can be healing for young people struggling.
People have their own outlets, you know, but I like to write. And if some kids like to write too, this would be a great place for them to come.
Dalton Moore, a rapper who performs as Mob Diggity, is also lending his voice to the issue. The Champaign and Ajax citizen says addiction is often rooted in intergenerational trauma from residential school, something he's experienced firsthand.
This music has definitely helped me paint a clearer picture of what we need as a people and what we need to actually better our mental health.
Much of the music he'll rap has an underlying message about addictions and mental health, which he hopes will help people who are struggling.
I hope it can really help a lot of people with what I have to say and the subject matter in my lyrics, because my lyrics are definitely the most important thing to me.
Mercady hopes people watching will be inspired to reach out if they need help.
So if we could do a little part to make a big change, then that's what we're going to do.
The show's organizers have also worked a message about the Yukon supervised consumption site into their show. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
In southern Alberta, where there are conservation efforts for plant and animal species at risk on Blackfoot territory, the Siksika Nation will now have a say. Calgary Zoo, along with the Wilder Institute, a conservation charity, signed a memo of understanding today with Siksika to build relationships and also give youth education and training opportunities in the field of animal welfare. And according to Chief O'Ray Crowfoot, the partnership works both ways.
Our people have been dealing with these ways for a long time, you know, and what plants are to use for what, when to harvest certain animals, when to harvest certain plants, when to don't touch. In our traditional ways, you don't hunt in certain times, and all these teachings, and that goes back to balance.
Good sounding partnership. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Be sure to join us here live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when Melissa will be putting Indigenous fashion in focus. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us tonight. Stick around. Face to Face is next, and our guest is the former Chief Commissioner of the MMIWG National Inquiry. Have a great night.